I first heard this story as a child in primary school in Jamaica, The Cat Woman and the Spinning Wheel. It was one of those tales read or told in the heat of the afternoon in Jamaican classrooms. Back then, it was just a story, a strange and frightening one about a beautiful woman who was not what she seemed, and a man who discovered too late the danger of her charm. However, as the years passed, the story never quite left me. It lingered in the corners of memory, whispering of things deeper than old-time superstition. But beneath the layers of folklore, there is the root that never grows old. It is a story about discernment, seeing beyond the surface. It is about trust and how easily it can be misplaced. It is about deception, the kind that wears beauty like a mask. And finally, it's about fear, that weapon the enemy uses to keep us bound. This series, Skin of Deception, is not just a retelling, but a reawakening. A modern look at an old story through the eyes of faith, where every charm hides a spirit, every secret has a price, and every lie meets the light of truth. In this version, the battle is not only between man and woman, but between light and darkness, truth and illusion, spirit and flesh. And the question remains, how many still walk with what looks like love, but hides deception beneath the skin? Every community has its own rhythm, its laughter, its stories, and its silence. But every community also has its secrets. Now and then, into that silence walks a stranger, carrying both answers and questions no one expected. This is Mount Olivet, a quiet rural village tucked deep in the Jamaican hills, a place where mornings rise slow over green valleys and evenings fall to the chorus of tree frogs and whispered prayers. Here, life moves at the pace of footsteps on dusty roads. Children run barefoot through banana groves, chasing laughter and the smell of roasted breadfruit. Neighbors still greet one another with a nod and a blessing, and the church bell still marks the hours like the heartbeat of the land. But behind the calm are eyes that watch and tongues that whisper. Some stories are told in daylight, others are buried in the dark. And though the hills are beautiful, those stories echo things best left unsaid. It's in Mount Olivet that David Grant, a young teacher from Kingston, comes seeking peace and finds something else entirely. Because in Mount Olivet, what you see isn't always what's true, and some faces wear masks even under the sun. Mount Olivet greeted him the way country places do, with curious eyes and cautious smiles. "Good afternoon, stranger." "Good afternoon, sir." In time, they would come to call him Teacher Grant. But on that first day, he was simply the stranger. In small villages, news travels faster than the wind. By the time David arrived, Mount Olivet had already decided what kind of man he was. Educated, humble, and, as the elder women said, easy on the eyes. But that night, the village came together to see him for themselves, the stranger who would soon become a part of their story. The evening sun rested gently over the hills of Mount Olivet, painting the rooftops gold before slipping away behind the palms. Inside the small church hall, laughter mingled with the smell of food, curried chicken, fried dumplings, and sorrel. It was one of those evenings that reminded people of the beauty of community, the kind that made strangers feel like they belonged. David stood near the front, quietly taking it all in. He had never been one for grand welcomes, but there was something honest about this one. Faces smiled at him with warmth, yet behind some of those smiles, he could sense curiosity and a quiet caution. Elder Simeon, a tall man in his late 60s, with silver hair and the kind of eyes that seemed to see through pretense, stepped forward. His voice carried both wisdom and weight, the kind that made a room listen. He told David that the village was glad to have him, a young teacher, a man of faith, someone who could help shape the minds of Mount Olivet's children. His tone was warm, but somewhere beneath it, there was a note of warning. "Home is what you make it," the elder said. "Just keep your eyes open. Not everything that glitters in these hills is gold." David smiled politely, unaware that those words would echo in his spirit for many nights to come. And then, the hall shifted. The door creaked open, and silence seemed to fall all at once. She stepped inside like a shadow wrapped in sunlight, Marissa Brown. She was beautiful in a way that made time hesitate. Her maroon dress caught the candlelight, and her gold earrings flickered with every step. Her smile was soft, deliberate, the kind that drew attention without asking for it. People moved aside as if by instinct, their laughter fading to murmurs. David's eyes met hers for the first time, and something unexplainable passed between them. Not love, not fear, but a strange pull that neither of them could name. Elder Simeon stood at the edge of the room, his eyes never leaving her. He had seen this story before. Not this face, but this pattern, the kind of beauty that came with a price. Marissa greeted David with charm and grace, her voice smooth and confident, words dripping with politeness. But her eyes, if one looked closely, carried something deeper, something unreadable. For a fleeting moment, David forgot where he was. The noise, the people, the warmth, all faded into a quiet hum as she smiled at him. It was only when she turned to speak with someone else that David breathed again, unaware that a thread had already been tied, delicate, invisible, and dangerous. Every community has its way of welcoming a stranger. Some welcome with smiles, some with food. But Mount Olivet welcomed him with a warning he didn't yet understand. And that night, as the candles burned low and laughter filled the church hall, a silent tension crept in through the door behind Marissa. A whisper of something that didn't belong, waiting for the right time to reveal itself. The city had taken more from David than he realized. It did not touch his faith, but his peace. Kingston was alive in every sense. Cars weaving through narrow streets, vendors calling out, children laughing, and preachers shouting from corners. Yet in all that noise, David had begun to feel a quiet emptiness growing inside. He yearned for a change from fatigue, from years of trying to build a life that no longer felt like his own. As a teacher, the classroom had once been his sanctuary, a place where knowledge met hope. But somewhere along the way, the spark had dimmed. The laughter of students no longer filled him with joy, and the lessons he taught began to sound like echoes of a dream he'd stopped believing in. So when the letter came, an offer to teach at a small rural school tucked between hills and rivers, he saw it as more than a coincidence. He saw it as a door that God himself might have opened. He packed what little he owned, a few shirts, a Bible, a notebook filled with prayers, and boarded a country bus headed north. As the city lights faded behind him, he whispered a quiet prayer for peace and protection. And though he didn't know it then, that prayer was about to be answered, in a way he never imagined, because Mount Olivet was more than a quiet village. It was a battleground, a place where faith and deception would soon meet face to face. And David, the teacher, would learn lessons no classroom could ever teach. The morning came with the sound of roosters and the slow rhythm of life returning to Mount Olivet. Mist hung low over the hills, curling around the schoolyard like breath. And inside a small wooden classroom, the new teacher, David, stood before his first class. The room was humble, cracked blackboard, wooden benches smoothed by years of use, a single window looking out toward green fields and river mist. Yet in that simplicity, there was a kind of beauty, the kind that reminds a man of purpose. The children watched him with curiosity, whispering behind smiles. Most had never seen a teacher from Kingston before, but one boy sitting right in the front row caught his attention. His name was Joshua, 12 years old, bright eyes full of questions. The kind of boy who leaned forward when others leaned back. His uniform was faded, his shoes scuffed, but his spirit was alive. When David spoke, Joshua's eyes followed every word, and when the bell rang for break, the boy followed him too. Joshua, "Sir, are you from Kingston? Have you ever seen the sea?" David, chuckling, replied, "Every day on my way to work. Why?" Joshua, smiling with his eyes wide, said, "One day I'll go see it too." The boy's innocence disarmed him. Simple, sincere, untainted by the hardness of life. To David, Joshua became more than just a student. He became a reminder of why he came, a reminder that even in quiet places, God plants seeds of hope. Joshua's laughter filled the classroom like light through the shutters, pure, steady, and healing. Days passed and the bond deepened. David found himself waiting for those small moments, the questions, the smiles, the sound of chalk and dreams filling the air. But what David didn't know was that the boy he now called a little brother would one day become his witness and his warning. For innocence too can see what wisdom sometimes overlooks. Evening came gently over Mount Olivet, the kind of calm that carries both peace and warning. The hills glowed in soft gold as the last light of the sun kissed the tops of the breadfruit trees. In the distance, church bells echoed, calling the faithful to prayer. David walked the narrow path that led to the churchyard, a small space surrounded by tall pimento trees and the quiet hum of crickets. Elder Simeon was waiting for him, seated beneath the almond tree with a steaming pot of tea on the wooden table. The evening breeze moved gently through the almond leaves, carrying the smell of earth and wood smoke. Elder Simeon leaned closer across the wooden table, his eyes lowered, his tone suddenly heavy, as if the weight of years rested on his words. He spoke slowly, each word careful, deliberate. He told David that soon he would meet everyone in the community, but that not all meetings were blessings. His voice faltered slightly when he mentioned one name, Marisa. It was spoken like a secret, the kind people say softly, as though the air itself might listen. David sat still, curiosity rising behind his calm expression. He did not ask much, only the question every man would ask. Who is she? The elder's hands tightened around his cup. The teacup trembled slightly, and the faint sound of porcelain against saucer filled the silence between them. He described her, beautiful, charming, but shadowed. Trouble followed her, he said, the way a shadow follows the light. And in that quiet moment, even the night seemed to hold its breath. The steam from the tea rose slowly, curling and twisting into the cool air, like unseen spirits dancing above the table. The church bell in the distance marked the hour, and the flicker of a candle bent toward the wind. By the time their tea turned cold, the conversation had changed, but the name Marissa remained. The name floated in the still night air like incense, soft but haunting, the kind of name that carried both beauty and warning. It echoed in David's mind like a riddle carried on the wind, unanswered yet insistent. He didn't know her face, he didn't know her story, but something about the warning stirred his spirit, not fear, but discernment. The two men sit in silence as the night deepens around them. The gentle hum of crickets fills the air, broken only by the soft creak of Elder Simeon's chair. On the table between them, a single candle flickers, its small flame bending toward the open window, stretching like a prayer against the coming darkness. Shadows sway on the church walls. The tea grows cold, and though not a word is spoken, something unseen moves between them. The sense that heaven itself is watching what earth cannot yet understand. Then just beyond the church gate, a figure passes by. A woman's silhouette, graceful and silent. Her presence is unseen by their eyes, but felt in their spirits. A whisper crosses the night wind. Morning came gently, with the sound of the river calling from beyond the hills. Mist rolled across the valley, and the sunlight touched the water like gold. David walked the narrow dirt path that led toward the riverbank, the place where the children said the clearest water ran. He carried his satchel, his Bible, and a quiet peace. After days in the village, this was his first morning to simply breathe. Birds sang from the breadfruit trees. Goats bleated somewhere in the distance. The village, though simple, pulsed with life, the kind only the countryside knows. And for a moment, David felt content. Then he saw her. At first, just a figure near the water, a woman kneeling beside a calabash, washing something in the current. The sunlight caught her skin and turned it to bronze. Her movements were slow, deliberate, and graceful. When she turned, it was as though the air itself paused. Marisa, the name from last night's whisper, now had a face, and it was beautiful. She looked up, eyes catching his, and smiled. Not forward, not shy, but knowing. It was the kind of smile that didn't need words, the kind that reached beyond the surface and lingered in the mind. David greeted her politely, his tone respectful but curious. She responded with warmth, voice smooth like a song half remembered. He had not yet given his name, yet somehow she already knew it. She told him she had heard about him, the new teacher. Her tone carried a playful ease, but her eyes held something deeper, something that made the air between them tremble. David smiled, surprised, a hint of curiosity rising in his chest. He wondered how word of him could travel so fast in a place so small. Her soft but musical laughter answered him before he could ask. She said, "In villages like this, news runs faster than the wind." And for a moment it felt true. The wind did move faster then, stirring the water and carrying her laughter into the hills. There was a pause and her eyes lingered on him as if they were searching. Her eyes held a strange mixture of warmth and warning, invitation and restraint. It was the look of someone who knew more than she would ever say. The sun slipped from behind a cloud, lighting the river in gold. David shifted slightly, breaking the moment. He adjusted his satchel, offered a polite farewell, and turned toward the path. But even as he walked away, he knew something had changed. The name that once lingered in warning, now lingered in wonder. Later that evening, David walked the narrow lane toward his small board house, his steps slow, thoughtful. The wind moved through the breadfruit trees like an unseen hand turning invisible pages, whispering secrets of the evening. The events of the day replayed in his mind, the laughter of the children, the calm wisdom of Elder Simeon, and her, Marissa, her smile, her voice, the way her presence seemed to bend the air around her. He shook his head as though trying to push away a thought that refused to leave. The elder's warning still echoed faintly. Not everything that glitters in these hills is gold. He exhaled softly, half speaking to himself. "She's just a woman," he murmured, almost convincing, his tone low against the wind. "Just a woman." But the night seemed to disagree. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, sharp, sudden, then stopped. Silence followed, heavy and deliberate. Even the crickets paused for a moment, as though something unseen had passed by. And as David reached his gate, he felt it again, that quiet stirring in his spirit, that invisible pull between peace and warning. Sometimes temptation doesn't come with noise or shadow. Sometimes it comes wrapped in beauty, carrying the scent of river water and the sound of laughter. Some meetings are written in the light, others are written in shadow, and sometimes they are written in both. Every story begins somewhere, and sometimes the beginning looks nothing like danger, only destiny in disguise. In the quiet heart of that village, something stirred, unseen, patient, whispering his name, and somewhere deep within the shadows, a light flickered and went out. In every village, there are stories, some told, some buried. But the most dangerous stories are the ones that look like blessings. David came seeking peace, but peace rarely lives where purpose is being tested. And in the quiet corners of Mount Olivet, a battle had already begun. Not of flesh and blood, but of spirit and shadow. This is the end of part 1, the beginning of a lesson written not in ink, but in fire. Will David heed Elder Simeon's warning, or will curiosity lead him too close to danger? Who is Marissa really, and what lies behind that beautiful smile? What is it that the village hides, and why does everyone go silent when her name is mentioned? Stay tuned for part 2, The Invitation. Because in Mount Olivet, every smile has a story, and every story has a spirit behind it. If this story has stirred your heart, please support the channel. Like, share, and subscribe for more modern Jamaican parables that uplift and inspire. Don't forget to leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's keep the fire of faith, hope, and kindness burning strong across the world. Together we can tell stories that change lives and build a better world. Blessings from Jamaica.